It's
Oh,
saying that we're on
live.
air.
It says live. It
I'm trying
usually
to work.
takes a few minutes to actually catch up. Let me
It's
just.
not showing on my thing though still.
Well, I will see if it's on mine.
Oh, it is showing on mine.
Oh yeah, I can see us. We're here. We're here. Okay.
And there's one person watching who I think is me.
That's me. I don't think you count.
And where do we see the comments?
Mine just comes up with live chat, so that's where I can see it.
Will it come up with live chat on my own thing?
Should do if you're just watching it from another device.
No, it's not coming up. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, I'm stupid. Oh, it says live, but then I can't click on anything.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, I'm so technologically impaired. Oh, live chat's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, hello. Emma's Bookish Lifestyle is hearing us.
Woohoo!
And we've got someone saying good morning from Maryland, USA. Well, hello. It is 8:30 at night here, so that's why my screen is really dark.
And me.
Yeah. Do you want me to, shall I introduce?
Yeah, I was just tweeting. I've tweeted us.
You've tweeted.
Yeah.
So anyway, hi everybody. I'm Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books, as you probably know because you're on the channel. And I've got Caitlin from KittyG here.
Hello. That's me.
That's her. We're doing our chat on the Wellcome Book Prize books. I think we're on 20, I want to say 2011.
No, that's the September book. So we're on September 2010.
Oh, it's a good job you're here.
It's all right, I checked this earlier.
So we're doing our 2010 books, and as always each month we are picking one off the shortlist of 6, and sometimes that happens to be the same book, but so far we've had different books. And then we're also both reading, I'm going to cough, excuse me, we're both reading the winner as well. So, and then we just come together here once a month at the end of the month to chat about our thoughts. And hopefully I've had quite a lot of people mention recently that, oh, someone's asking, are we supposed to be seeing us? Can people not see us?
I can see us. It's working for me. So I don't know.
It's lagging a little bit on my end, but
maybe refresh the page if you can't see us, and hopefully it'll sort itself out.
Yeah.
It's probably YouTube being annoying.
But we have, oh yeah, someone said they can see us. So anyway, so we have been reading the books this month. It's been an interesting month, and I've had quite a few people mention that they've been trying to read some of the books along with us. So I think it'll be nice if anybody has got things they want to say in the comments as we're talking. We'll make sure we keep an eye on them, and if there's topics you want to raise and talk about, then we can do that. I think this time round I'll start with my shortlist book because it's going to be rather a quick one.
Fair enough.
So
tell us about it.
Well, my pick from the shortlist is Grace Williams Says It Loud by Emma Henderson. And when I saw this on the shortlist, I was quite excited because the back basically mentions that it's set a little while ago. I think it's in the 50s, and it's about sort of a young girl, and she gets sent to a mental institution. And I thought, wow, that sort of ticks a few boxes for the sort of things that I like. I read about 25 pages of this, and it sent me slumpy, and I had to DNF it. So I haven't actually, like, owning up here, I haven't read more than 25 pages. And it's funny because since that I have gone and looked on Goodreads to see how other people feel about it, and there is a lot of people, especially people that I generally sort of trust, that are like, no, it was rubbish, I hate it.
Fair enough.
And the bit I think
about it that put you off?
I found out, which I thought was quite interesting, it was shortlisted for the Orange Prize in 2011.
I think a lot of these books that we've been reading have also been shortlisted for the Orange Prize.
But I don't know how this one got shortlisted. That sounds horrible, but it's first person. It's in first person, but there's no emotion. We don't feel any emotion for this character. We don't feel anything for them. It's very like, what's the word? Like, they're just telling you stuff, but they're not like giving you any background or any sort of emotion behind it. And you can't really work out what's going on for loads of it. I wonder if I should like read you a bit. It's set in, because basically a lot of people's problem later on is, which I didn't even get to, is that it's set in the 50s, and it's set in one of those, in a time where people were really not good with anybody that was different. Like, you know, people got treated extremely badly in mental health facilities, and a lot of people say that that can be quite jarring. And a lot of people say that even later on in the book, we don't know what sort of issues or mental health problems the main character even has.
Okay.
And people said they kept getting confused between whether the character was mute or whether they weren't mute, or whether they could understand certain things. And it was just all very confusing. Oh, yeah, I'm having a look here.
Having a nosy.
Oh, someone said, thank goodness you said you DNF'd it, as I was feeling guilty about not liking it. I only finished it as it was part of your challenge. It gets
Eleanor let you down.
She said it made her feel worse later, so thank God I didn't put myself through it. But and it was really choppy.
And you DNF it, and I was like, yes, you can. I give you permission to DNF.
I was like boxering Caitlin, going, Caitlin, it's just making me not want to read. And she was like, just DNF it.
Just DNF it. Get rid of it.
Sure. It was just horrendous. I don't know how it made it onto a list.
Quite a nice cover, so I wouldn't have thought you'd have such a strong reaction.
Well, and also, like, a lot of people, I can only judge by like the pages that I read, but from reading in the Goodreads as well, loads of people are saying how like it's just very morbid, and let me read you a bit to give you an idea. Like,
give us a sample.
Yeah. I'm trying to find. It's really hard to. After we moved to London in 1951, only when my mother was feeling brave would she take me with her to the parade of shops at the end of our street for meat, fruit and veg and a loaf of bread, and on Fridays fish. 2 and 6 Mrs. Williams filleted. The fishmonger slipped the fish from the bucket to board, or sloshed them noisily from their trays of ice. I'd learnt to walk after a fashion without the support of another person. I sometimes tumbled and often splayed, but with an arm or palm on one side I tottered quite nifty-shifty along. We must have been an odd sight, my mother and I. It was just very, like, you know, there was these long descriptions about just walking to the shops.
It does sound a bit overly flowery.
I mean, that doesn't sound terrible, the bit that I just read, but it was just, it just wasn't for me, unfortunately.
I don't think it would have been for me just from that tiny sample. So fair enough. That one was out. That one did not get the vote.
No, so sorry about that one. That one, I'm pleased, didn't win. So, Caitlin, what about you and your shortlist one?
My shortlisted one. So I had this one, which is Lionel Shriver's So Much for That. And it was my first Lionel Shriver book. And it was actually kind of a strange one. It's quite a big book. I audiobooked most of it because I started reading it and then found out there was an audiobook. And if there is an audiobook, usually I take that option because I have more time for them. Follows a man called Shep Naka, and he's married to his wife. I think her name's Glenys. And they've been married for quite some time, and he's been plodding along, and he's been saving up to go to Ireland, just away from everything. Like, he's all his life worked really hard so that he can escape the drudgery of day to day and go live in this place he calls the afterlife. It's like his retirement home, essentially, on an African island. So he's been saving up, he's got loads of money, and he's been saying this to all of his friends and family for years, that he's going to go and that they need to come along. And his wife has never really been on board with it. She's kind of always thought it was a bit of a joke. And she's been kind of skiving off his money quite a lot in the early years, until he said, oh, you know, you should go and get a job, jokingly. And she like took it to heart, and then out of spite went and got a job that's really crap pay, and just ended up like sort of doing it to spite him. So at the point where we join the story, he's got to the point where he's fed up, and he's like wants to leave and go to his afterlife, and he's like happy with her. So he turns around to his wife and he goes, I'm going to go to this afterlife with or without you. You better come or not. It's up to you. And she goes, you can't go because I need your health insurance because I've got a really rare form of cancer. Wow. So that's kind of the story. From that point onwards, it follows their relationship and how they kind of deal with in the family with a really bad illness that's kind of undiagnosed, and no one really quite knows how to fix things. And cancer's obviously horrible, but this particular type that she has is like a really lesser known type that's quite rare. So she deteriorates quite quickly. So it's kind of about their relationship, and it was quite an interesting story. And then also alongside that, we have his best friend, Shep's best friend, and his relationship. So they're kind of told in parallel because their friends come over a lot and they're sort of quite intermingled. So we have his best friend's relationship too, which is very weird because his best friend, and this is going to be a bit spoilery, anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled, but his best friend ends up getting some sort of botched job on his penis that goes really, really wrong. Basically, he wants to try and enlarge it because he's a bit like self-conscious because he finds his wife eating without him. She's having a much better time without him. So he goes and gets this penis enlargement to like try and help fulfill her. But it goes really wrong and it all swells up and goes horrible. And so his wife is like, what the hell have you done? Like, this is not okay. And their relationship goes really downhill from then on. So it's basically like the story of these two relationships and how terribly wrong they're going and how they're like battling these various different things. And also the best friend and his wife have a daughter who's got a condition which is quite degenerative and will eventually kill her, and she can't do an awful lot for herself. So there's like those three sort of medical issues all going on at once. You've got the botched job, the cancer, and then the daughter who's like got her own degenerative stuff as well.
Behind me.
Like, I thought it was really...
Was it pacey? Or
medical side of it?
There's a lot of like slow relationship stuff.
It was definitely slow in places, but there were points where I thought it sort of picked up. But it was slow to begin with. Definitely a sort of slow starter to get into. But I think having the audiobook helped because I just powered on with it. Whereas if I'd been reading it, might have slowed down quite a lot.
Did it have a satisfactory ending? That's what I like to know.
I think so, because I think it wasn't a happy ending necessarily, but I didn't really think it could be with that many things going on in the story. So yeah, I think it did have a happy, satisfactory ending in a way. And I think the thing I really liked about it was that it talked a lot about the American perspective on healthcare, because it's set in America. And obviously they don't have like the NHS or anything like that. So health insurance is a really big deal. And I think Lionel Shriver did a really good job of talking about how tricky it can be in America if you get some sort of illnesses or diseases, like trying to find the money alongside paying for all your normal stuff. Like, she did a really good job of describing that side of it and making it quite interesting, which, to be honest, it sounds like a really boring thing, but she did quite a good job of making it interesting. So I liked that. I don't think I really liked any of the characters. So that was my biggest problem.
There was no one sort of you could root for or feel any...
Because I didn't really like his wife because she comes across as a bit of an ass, to be honest, in the beginning. Like, she's sort of very spoiled and looking out for herself and doesn't really want to indulge in Shep's dream and stuff, even though he's worked really hard. Shep I didn't love because he seems like he's got to the end of his tether and sort of is a bit annoyed with them and just wants to go. And then he tries to like support his wife and stuff, but he feels guilty. And then his best friend...
It's weird though that this whole time he's been saving for this, the wife's not been on board, and yet he's still carried on with it.
Well, I think it's just always been his dream, and he always thought like eventually when he got up enough money she would just come, because she's just like working a dead-end like job.
So he was just trying to force her into it.
Not so much force, it's like he decided he was going to do it one way or the other. So he never said you have to come, but he was saying, you know, we're married, so you should probably come. Yeah.
So what did you end up giving this one?
I gave it 3. Like, I liked it because it came with some really interesting things. Like, I thought it was well handled at times, but I also just I can't give it more than 3 if I don't like any of the characters, because for me characters are a big deal. And I feel like none of them were likable. Like, the only one who's remotely likable to me was the best friend's wife, because she actually reacted in a normal way when her husband went and got this botched job by being like, no, I'm not going to sleep with you. Why would I go near that? And I was like, yeah, true. You preach, lady, you preach.
Yeah, you
So
don't
I
go
was
near that
like,
weird penis.
yeah, but you can't just go up and do that and expect it to be fine. So that made me laugh. And I think the daughter's quite funny at times as well, because she's very like aware that she's going to die, and so she makes a lot of jokes about that sort of
Is
thing. And
she
she's quite
teenager
upbeat.
or?
Yeah, she's a teenager. She's in school and stuff. So they were like probably the best two characters, but even they were minor compared to the other three who took center stage. So yeah, for me it was like a likable read, interesting, but probably not one that I would have nominated for an award or something, you know. Like I don't know if maybe I just don't really get on with unlikable people. But
we've got a question. What would your dream retirement location be?
Dream retirement, Italy, I think, for me, because Italy's my favorite country. I love the food. Somewhere with a good library, or like where I could build my own library. So maybe like a big old castle in Italy with a giant library.
I'd be like somewhere where Amazon delivers to.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I'd quite like to be I always think like the dumb thing to say here is that you want to go somewhere like hot and that, but actually as I've got older I've realised I don't actually like it when it's too hot.
That's fair.
I like it when it's dry.
To be honest, I think reading in autumn is so much nicer. Like autumn and winter for reading is much better. Much better.
I think I much prefer it when it's dry and sunny. So maybe a European country as well. Yeah. I've never found another country that I visited that I would live in, and I've travelled around the world into various places. I've never found anywhere yet that I would.
If I could learn the language, because
it would be the language barrier for me. Yeah.
I mean, I did study Italian in school, but that was a way back now. So,
we've got someone else who read the book, and they said they agree with you and gave it 3 stars.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it was like, I would read more Lionel Shriver. That's what I've taken away from it. I think I would read more of her books. And I do have We Need to Talk About Kevin, which I know is like her most hyped book. So I'm going to try that one next and see what I think of it. But I'm not going to rush into it. I think I need a bit of a breather from it, because it was quite a long.
That one's not really got any likeable characters either.
No, I'm sure it hasn't. From what was, because it's Mercedes' recommendation. Like, I went into it knowing that she doesn't like likable characters, does she? Yeah. So she's like very into non-likable. So yeah, I expect that. But I think I will read that one, and then I'll see how I go. If I like that one, then I'll read more. And if I don't, I'll probably just call it quits. But
yeah, it's nice to try a couple.
Yeah.
I think as well with authors, it can change from sort of, you know, time in terms of honing their skills, and also the subject matter. Sometimes people just write certain subjects better.
We Need to Talk About Kevin was written before, though. I think it's an earlier one. So I guess we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, okay, well, let's chat about the winner.
Woo!
Which is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot.
Yes.
This had been on my radar for quite a long time, actually, before we picked this up. So I was quite excited.
I had never heard of it. So
had you not? I'd heard of it all over the place. I kept hearing about people chatting about it and saying how it was a great book. And I think it cropped up quite a lot when I would be looking up things to do with Mary Roach, because she writes these sort of popular science books that I love. She's great. If no one's read Mary Roach, you should definitely read her books, especially Stiff was one of my favourite.
I've only read Stiff, but I like that one.
It was good, yeah. And so I knew that this was a story written by a journalist about a black woman, a poor black woman whose cells were taken without. I was under the impression it was without her knowledge.
Yeah.
Actually, this book dispels that, doesn't it? Because she did know that they were taking her cells.
No, she didn't know that they took the HeLa cells. She knew later on that they took other stuff, I think.
Because
But
I
yeah,
thought she
I
had to
don't think she
sign.
actually knew. Well, yeah, but how much do you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing
She
was,
probably had no idea what they were going to do with it, I suppose. She wasn't like consenting to everything they went
yeah,
off to do.
and I think that's a really interesting topic that's brought up in here, is this
Yeah.
informed consent. So,
Mm.
you know, you take a poor black woman who doesn't trust the healthcare service, the only sort of hospital that the black people in their town go to, they all think that, you know, that the people are being kidnapped in the night and taken away. They don't trust the healthcare system.
Yeah, you only go there if you're dying, really.
Yeah, and
From the sounds of it.
and in order to give informed consent, someone really needs to sit down and talk the person through exactly what is going on, which I think is interesting, because I feel like we get that informed consent finally when Deborah is
Yeah.
taken by Rebecca to meet that 30-year-old. Was he a geneticist?
Yeah, I think so. He was working on the DNA and
Because he actually sits her down and he shows her what a cell is, and he shows her.
He talks her through, which is kind of what you hope that they would have done back in the day, but obviously not.
And I thought, well, one thing that I was surprised by this was, I feel like if you were going to split it into a subject matter, that it was 70% was more biography and family story and history.
Yeah.
And there was sort of the 30% about the cells themselves. I think they took a bit of a back seat, which I didn't mind. But it was interesting.
It was quite a good way to do telling the story, because I think it gave the chance for us to sort of connect to the family who are still living when she's writing this, and kind of find out a bit more about their history of the town from meeting them and stuff, and find out like the black population, what was happening at the time, and how her family felt about it all. It's quite interesting, because normally the sort of book you'd expect would be like, well, there was this woman and she had her cells taken and this is what we did with the cells, rather than like, there was this woman who had her cells taken and this is what happened to her family afterwards, when no one told them that this was going to happen, and all of that sort of stuff. So I think it was really interesting that she chose to focus not only on the cells, but also a lot more on the family and what happened to them. And
I think it's important. Someone's mentioned in the comments about saying how, which is something similar actually. Because I was on holiday when I read this, and my mum, I was telling my mum about it because my mum's had cancer, and like these particular cells have done quite a lot. And my mum had cervical cancer, which is what Henrietta had, and she was saying, oh, you know, I wouldn't care if they took them without telling me if I thought it was going to help someone. Like, and I think it's important to note that you expect that the reason that Henrietta's family are feeling disgruntled about this is for money, and actually it's not.
No,
they don't. I mean, they are poor, and I think it rubs them the wrong way when there are these mass farms that are farming the cells out and selling them for 180 quid a pop, but it's not. But it's not actually the cells that are making that money, it's the ability and the facilities to reproduce. And I think the problem they had was that no one explained to them what this was. They just thought people were cloning
what it was.
They really did. Exactly. I mean, these are people that, you know, have only gone to school, one of them for like 4 days or something, or 4 years of their whole life, and you know, they think that there's like multiple Henriettas out there that people have grown in test tubes, and she's wandering around alive.
That's like the difference between, for example, your mum or like people today, is that we've all been through school and we all know, you know, a basic understanding of like what a cell is and how it works, because of this. Like, this woman's cells are the reason that we all now get taught that in school, like, because things like this have become more mainstream, and like it's normal now to take cells and do tests and figure it all out and whatnot. But obviously back in the day, her cells were the first ones that could divide and continuously multiply and stuff, and it was a real discovery. And probably they thought when they took from her cells, they were like, oh, it'll probably be another dead end, so, you know, why tell her, what's the point? But actually it was not, it was quite the opposite. So
I thought interesting. Like I felt like there was quite a lot of layers to this, because you had the family story. So you had Henrietta's story about what was happening to her. which I think then brought up issues of how in the 1950s they treated cancer. You know, they were treating her with this radiation. They were putting radioactive material in her body, which was like basically burning her. Yeah.
Oh, horrible.
So that raises those sort of issues and information. And then you have like what happens to the cells and like the cells journey in terms of medically, what those cells do and who they help and what they've been part of. And also this issue of consent. And, you know, the family only found out about it because it was like in a court case or it was in a newspaper article,
a newspaper that they got given by someone else.
And then they were harassed by like journalists all the time who couldn't get their mum's name right. And then you've also got the story mainly of Deborah, but also of the rest of Henrietta's children and family. And I think it's how that situation has affected them, isn't it? It's how this taking of some cells has affected their lives.
Yeah, and it's like the legacy thing, isn't it? Like if their mum's died, obviously they're more interested in her legacy and how she's remembered, and the fact that no one can get her name right and no one ever came to them and said, you know, this is your mum or whatever. Like it was all just assumed that the doctors were going to get the credit for this, and actually even though she didn't, you know, willingly give her cells over, they are her cells by rights of today. If not then, she could have taken them back and she could have like had right over them if she'd been living today, but she obviously didn't have that at the time and wasn't aware and couldn't have ever got to that point. So it's like the freedom of choice thing, she didn't have an option, and the legacy thing, she's misremembered by a lot of people. It's only in the last however many years that she's actually started to be named correctly and actually credited, and people have found out about her and stuff. So,
and they kept going to the family, didn't they, and taking blood tests and stuff, and the family assumed they were having these tests because they were being tested for cancer, didn't they?
Yeah, which is terrible when you think about it. I think for me
lying to them.
The saddest storyline in this whole thing was the sister, which I won't spoil, but the sister's storyline and finding out what happened to her, that made me really upset.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's so tragic. And the fact that she
didn't... this was Deborah's sister, wasn't it? Henrietta's other daughter.
Yeah, Henrietta's other daughter.
Yeah.
And finding out what happened to her, because it was not a nice story. But it was also something that I think was quite typical of the time, and it also sort of feeds back into the medical side, because there were lots of like testing and stuff being done on people in those sorts of asylums and mental homes and stuff, which I just found a really interesting facet for her to sort of touch on. I would have maybe liked to see a bit more of that, but I know that doesn't really relate to Henrietta specifically. It's a bit more vague and open, but maybe I should find some books about that. Although I'm a bit scared because I think I'd probably be like, ooh,
blubbering mess
out. Yeah, grossed out and sad.
I think it was, I think, you know, parts of this story are sad and are troubling and are worrying about how things were done. But I think ultimately, like, Rebecca Skloot from doing this, because the family basically explains at the beginning she's trying to get hold of the family and they just had enough. They don't want to talk to anyone. She really has to earn their trust. And I think by the time we get to the end, there's a real positivity, especially for Deborah definitely. And the family, that, you know, they've had some closure, they've had some understanding of what this was about.
She helped them find out a lot more than what they knew already, didn't she? And really got them in touch with Deborah the right sort of people. So yeah, because she had an education and she was able to sort of introduce them. I guess that's,
and open those doors to the right, answer the right questions.
Yeah,
you know, but I thought it was interesting on loads of different levels. There was so much in there. I felt like it could have been like, you know, there could be sequels of different things. Just in case people don't know, like the HeLa cells are named after her, aren't they? Henrietta and Lax. So HE for Henrietta and LA for Lax. That's how they named the cells.
I do think it was a very interesting read, and definitely, in my opinion, deserved to win an award, because I think it highlights something that's really important, and I'm quite glad that the laws of America and whatnot have changed somewhat now, and you can get yourselves back if you think that they're being like missold. And she sort of touches on other stories, doesn't she, a bit of like other people who've sort of changed things later on down the line. So I thought that was nice. I'm not sure how recent this one goes up to. Like, I know it came out in I guess 2009, if it's a 2010 one.
Came out in 2010.
Oh, 2010 then.
Must have been early 2010. I think this takes it up quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, because near the end it's January 2009.
Yeah, so I think it comes up quite recent to when she finished it. So
yeah.
You have the interview on the audiobook. Did you listen to that with the author?
Yeah, I think it did have. Yeah.
So I thought that was quite interesting. Blimmin' terrible recording though. The author. Yeah. Oh my god, it was bad. You'd think she could have got a better microphone. 2010.
It was like a telephone.
It was not good. But with that said, I thought it was interesting sort of listening to her talk a bit more about it and sort of the things that she encountered and like why she was so interested, because she hadn't really seen that much representation of like the women in science and stuff, and it was quite cool to find someone who was like a woman in science who'd done a whole lot but actually had been very rarely credited. And it's yeah, really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5. So
yeah, I gave it 4 really out of 5. And you found out, you were mentioned earlier, that it's been made into a HBO film.
Yeah, apparently there is an HBO film. Someone at my book group told me. So I might have to check that one out and see if it's got Oprah Winfrey in it and some other people, I guess. I think Oprah Winfrey was one of the people who sort of really pushed to get the film made once she'd read the book. So I don't know much more than that, to be honest, but it seems like it would be worth a watch. So I might try and find that on Amazon or something.
Yeah,
and give it a go.
I think there's so much in here to like discuss and mention, and like I keep thinking of other things, you know, how like Henrietta was like the glue that held all the family together, and how things broke apart for all the different children and family members, like when she was gone, and and how that the knock-on effect
about like that time in America as well, which I mean we don't know probably too much about it because we're not from America. I know like key events in the race riots and things like that from just like school history, and that's pretty much all I know about it. So reading about it from the point of view of the family who were going through sort of the segregation and seeing the different conditions for black and white people, and seeing the way that the other black people in the community had to step up and take over the family, and like there were some really horrible people in their community who were just getting away with stuff, and like cousins and things who were just vile. But that was just normal and that was accepted, and the family just had to go through horrible things because they didn't have a mother around anymore to sort of protect them, and their father was working and they were poor, and just lots of factors. But it was all definitely really interesting in a slightly morbid curiosity way.
Yeah,
I don't know, I find sad stories quite interesting.
Yeah, me too. I can't remember last month. Did we think that the one that had won should have won?
What did we have last month?
You had the book on AIDS and I had...
Oh yeah. What was the winner though? Oh, it was 3... No, that was...
This is terrible. Can anyone else remember?
No, yeah, I was annoyed with Henrietta's husband as well. If he'd stepped up, he might have been a better influence on the rest of the family, and that might have helped things. But I suppose you can't go back and change things.
I'm trying to remember what last month was. That's terrible.
I'm going to look at my own video from...
Oh, good idea.
And find out what the hell it was.
Well, while you're doing that, I shall talk about next month's.
Oh, you had Cutting for Stone, and then we had Keeper by Andrea Gillies.
Oh, I didn't like it that much. I thought Cutting for Stone was better. So this month, I do think out of the ones that we read, that Henrietta Lacks was the best.
Oh yeah, I do as well. I think definitely, like, in terms of being a book that I think a lot of people could pick up, I think this one is definitely that. I don't know that the other two, well, probably definitely not your one, but my one, I don't think would appeal to most people. I think it's quite a slow read so much for that one. So I think this one is more of a general appeal, and genetics and stuff is quite interesting, isn't it? Even though it doesn't take center stage in the story, I think it's quite interesting to read about it and learn a bit more. I definitely learned things whilst reading it, so that's good.
So last month was The Keeper, which was the winner of the prize, which was the one about
which neither of us thought was fabulous. Like, it was
about the mother-in-law looking after it
was Alzheimer's and stuff.
Daughter-in-law, looking after the Alzheimer's. So I agree, this one was definitely well deserved. Now next month is an unusual one, because when we were looking at the shortlist, we both wanted to read the same book. So we just decided we're both reading the same this month. So more of a discussion about what we both thought. So the one from the shortlist we're both reading is The Emperor of All Maladies by Siddhartha Mukherjee, which is a biography of cancer.
And it's a tome.
Yeah. It's only sort of 500 pages, but it's
it just got
small writing.
Yeah, small writing.
But I hear nothing but good things about this.
Me too. I've seen it on a lot of people's channels and stuff, and
it's won the
seen
Pulitzer.
it on a lot of like lists of really good books about.
Yeah, I mean, it's won the Pulitzer for non-fiction. It's won the Guardian First Book Award in 2011, so it should be a good one. So we're both reading this one.
Lots of things.
And then the winner of the next one is Turn of Mind by Alice LaPlante, which is, from what I can gather, this is going to be quite a page turner. I think it's a thriller.
Yeah, thriller. I read this the other day, the blurb, and it's about a woman who's losing her mind slowly, and then her best friend is killed, and she's a surgeon, this woman. And so they think it must be her, because the way that her friend's been killed, it's got like surgically removed fingers. Sounds a bit gross, but she can't really remember, so I guess it's more of a
and they think it might be her, but she can't remember if it is her or not.
Verify if it's her or not. So it sounds quite good. I'm down.
Interesting. And S.J. Watson has blurbed it, and I really enjoyed her Before I Go to Sleep.
Yeah.
So I think these would be two interesting ones, very different ones.
Yeah.
Good to talk about.
It's interesting how short it is and stuff, though. I'm hoping it's a quick read, a fun one.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to those. So that is next month. Is anybody going to be reading along with us?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of people saying that they've ordered them from their library today.
Ooh.
And someone saying that they're going to major in the reading. I think what I'm going to do with this one, my plan, because I do find non-fiction tends to go better for me on audiobook, but I don't think there is an audio of this. So what I'm going to try and do is try and read like 30 pages a day of this alongside other books, to just sort of keep on chipping away and see how I get on like that. I have heard it's very readable, so but you know, that's from people that read a lot more non-fiction than me, so we'll see.
I hope it's an easy one. I'm interested, because obviously cancer is one of those things where like we don't really have a cure as such for it still. We've just got sort of treatments to hopefully keep it at bay. Guess we'll find out. I wonder if it goes into like all the different types of cancer, or if I guess it does, or maybe it's more about like discovering it and the history, and I don't know, but I'm excited. But I'm going to probably start it quite early because it's long. So
someone said, there's the audio book of that one. Oh, okay. Maybe there is an audio book.
Is it available in the UK though? Sometimes people say this and they're in the US and we don't get it.
Maybe. Yeah, I really hate that. It's so unfair. You hear someone that's said it's a really good one, and then you can't find it. I'm just having a look on my Audible.
Have a look.
I'm sure I looked, because I was like, this is a really scary book. I wonder if I can get it.
Scary as in long, not as in terrifying.
Yeah, sorry, not terrifying. Emperor. There we go. Oh no, it is on here.
Oh, maybe I'll get the audiobook too then. That seems like
I haven't got any credits.
The audiobook narrator good? Who is it?
Stephen Hoy.
Actually, maybe I did listen to this as a sample. That name rings a bell.
20 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Not too bad. Well, when you listen to it on 3-speed like you.
And when I listen to lots of fantasy, like the one I'm reading at the moment is 26 hours. So
blimey.
Easy.
Yeah. So it's on there. The Emperor of All Melodies. Thank you for
it's on sale.
Maria for letting us know that, because I didn't
It's on
realise
sale.
it was
It's only
Audible.
£4, Eleanor.
What?
Yeah.
It didn't say that on mine. Are you on a different sale?
No, I don't think so. It says it's only sale price £4. I'm going to buy it instead of using a credit.
Mine's not on sale price.
Well,
Mine's just buy for $16.62.
I don't know then.
Look.
Well, that's a bit weird. Mine says on sale.
Oh.
$3.99.
How did you? That's so unfair.
Well, I'm going to get it for $3.99 because at that price you can't do it.
And mine isn't.
I don't know. Well, I'm happy.
Does it do that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm on my other account. I've got two. I've got one US and one UK one.
Maybe on a US one.
I don't know. I don't know which one I'm on right now.
It's not on sale in the UK.
Where is?
That's really annoying.
No, I just bought it from the UK one. It says audible.co.uk. So
that's what I'm on.
So I don't know then. I've got no idea.
Maybe it's because I'm on the mobile site.
No, but I am too.
Oh, you're just so lucky.
I don't know.
Daily deal. How odd. Oh,
other people are saying they don't have it on sale either. Maybe it's just for me. A special offer for me.
Special offer for Caitlin.
I don't know. I'm excited by this.
That is really good.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, I'm getting it. I'll have it.
I wonder if I can get it from the library.
Maybe it's because I buy so many books. They're just giving me free stuff or cheap stuff now.
This says, mine says on the side, learn how to get this for free, but I don't think that's really.
No, I think that's just when you sign up, or you might be able. No, you haven't got the Kindle version.
It's even more expensive on here. It was like $16.99, and now I've gone to the main site and it's way more expensive.
Oh, that's very peculiar. Everyone in the comments is like, "You're just making me laugh." We're just bickering about Audible.
It's just not fair. Well, I'm going to go away now and see if I can find some way of getting it for £4.99 or whatever you got it for.
$3.99.
Oh, right, don't rub it in. I bet it's only got like the first chapter.
Oh, it better not have. Yeah, it's a sample. That would suck. Yeah. No, I think it's the full one. Have we got any other questions? We've just gone an interlude.
Yeah, we're just having a bit of a...
Having a natter.
Oh, this one Maria says, what I can see for £3 is not the book, it's only 34 minutes.
No, mine says 20 hours, 49.
Oh, Caitlin.
It's here, guys. It's here. It's in my library.
It's in her library. So
I've got it. Yeah.
No, okay. Well, if we haven't got anything else to do, I'm going to go and start my chunker of a book, because some of us can't get the audio book for £3.
Sauce about that. Do you know what it probably is? It's because I've got the Kindle version. So it's probably the Whisper Sync thing. Because if you get the Kindle version, you get it cheaper on audio, don't you? That's probably what it is.
That's what it is.
I have it on Kindle already.
There we go. I've worked it out.
That's probably it. I've worked it out. I've figured it out. Don't worry, you're not being hard done by.
Well, I am, because I could have bought it on Kindle and not bought the book, and then I could have had the audio for cheap.
But did you not get it really cheap secondhand? Because it was only like a penny or something on order on.
I did get it quite cheap secondhand. Yeah,
that's fair enough. You probably paid less. You'll be okay. And you're doing 30 pages a day. You'll be okay.
Yeah, and also now I'm home, I'm not driving around so much. I'm not listening to much audio, so it's probably better to be reading it.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be all right.
I will, and it'll be interesting to see.
The narrator's horrible now that I've ordered it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how we get on, actually. Like,
yeah.
one of us reading the book and one of us listening to the audio.
Yeah, we can compare. So that'll be good.
Contrast.
Excellent. Teacher head is already on with you.
Yeah, sorry. Right. Okay. Well, bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for coming and chatting with us. And do
we have a date for our next one?
We don't, I don't think. We always tend to do it around the end of the month. So we will get a date in and we will tweet about it. So make sure you follow us both on Twitter.
Yeah.
And we'll mention it. But it's sometime towards the end of September or the start of October.
Yeah. And that'll be back on my channel for that one.
Yep. So make sure you're on Caitlin's channel for that one, keeping an eye out. And we shall speak to you later. Bye.
Bye.